What's up guys, this is ZonalFear bringing you a gameplay commentary. It's been a little while since I brought a gameplay commentary to you, so I'm making up for that today with this one. At the moment I'm playing PlanetSide 2, however that's not what I'm going to be covering in today's gameplay commentary. What I'm actually going to discuss is the news in the industry that the PlayStation 4 has just been announced, and also I'm going to take a look at the specifications of the machine, of what we know so far, and what my opinions are about them, and why I think that this console could actually be really good for PC gaming in general. So we'll go from the start. From what little we do know about the PlayStation 4, we know that it's going to have 8 AMD Jaguar cores, processing cores. I've looked at AMD's sort of availability on processors, and at the moment all they appear to have is a 4-core processor by the Jaguar name. So I am wondering if Sony are actually sort of partnering with AMD to get them to make a special version of the chip, or if it's going to be literally 2 of these Jaguar 4-core processors bundled into one and packaged onto the PS4. The processors themselves look really impressive, especially when you consider the fact that this is for a games console and not sort of a high-end PC. Now some of you guys are really sat there thinking, hey ZonalFear, aren't you a PC gamer? Well yeah, that's right, I am a PC gamer. However, I also enjoy the games that I can't get on the PC on the PlayStation 3. So the announcement of the PlayStation 4 and some of the sort of specifications of the machine have me quite excited. The processor cores in the PlayStation 4 are full-on sort of x86-64 CPU processors. This is the sort of stuff that they use in PCs. You'll have to bear with me when my phone goes off. So yeah, as I was saying, this is the sort of stuff that they use in PCs. At the moment, the current gen consoles use sort of IBM stroke cell processors, which wouldn't normally go into a PC. They're custom designed for this generation of consoles, in the same way that the 8-core AMD Jaguar processor is going to be custom designed for the PlayStation 3. What is interesting though is that, generally speaking, x86 processors are really capable things. If you put them side by side next to an ARM processor, it would do considerably more, much quicker, because ARM processors don't have a lot of the a lot of the technological advancements that x86-64 processors have, due to the fact that ARM processors are generally sort of low power consumption devices. They're made for smartphones and everything else like that. If you have an Apple iPhone or an Android smartphone, then it's going to have an ARM processor in. What the x86-64 processors are, and what they'll be able to do, is handle much more information a lot quicker. These are the types of processors that are going to be used on desktop PCs. Looking at the AMD Jaguar processor, this is actually something they're looking to incorporate onto PCs. Reading more into the AMD Jaguar, it appears to be based on their Bobcat technology. Now, from what I know of that series of processors, these are very low power processors, so I'm not expecting massive clock speeds per core for these processors, because they're designed to be very energy efficient, even though they are, to all intents and purposes, proper desktop computer processors. So I'm not expecting high clock speeds from the AMD Jaguar in the PlayStation 4. However, what I'm really looking forward to is the amount of ability to multi-thread games and applications and things like that. For a long time, as PC gamers who have like 4-core rigs and so forth, often new games come out and they're not optimized for multi-core processors. It's only now that we're really sort of get into the multi-core processor age with games. So the fact that a sort of full-on console is going to have 8 processor cores is really interesting. It means that developers are going to be forced to multi-thread for the PlayStation 4, even more so as I don't expect the sort of core frequency to be that high. So they're really going to have to do some massive parallelism on the software which they create in order to get a really good experience from the PlayStation 4. Another thing that sort of like caught my eye while I was looking at the PlayStation 4 specifications is that the machine itself is going to have 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. This is the sort of memory that they use in modern graphics cards today. GDDR5 memory is pretty quick, and even better, it has 8 gigs of the stuff. For a long time, consoles have held back development in PC gaming and held back gaming in general, because the machines themselves don't have an awful lot of RAM. At the moment, the Xbox 360 has 512 megabytes of shared RAM, which is shared between the graphics and also sort of like the game engine, so the AI and things like that. And the PlayStation 3 has the same amount, 512 meg, but divided into two blocks, so one for sort of like logic and AI and things like that, and another one for the PlayStation 3 graphics processor. So the fact that they've really added a massive amount of memory gives me a lot of hope for gaming in general in the future. Developers are going to be able to go all out on their games without having to worry about memory restrictions on current generation consoles. It's also going to be really interesting to see how Microsoft go from this. I hear that Microsoft weren't planning on implementing so much memory into the next Xbox, so I wonder if this move by Sony to actually announce the system specifications is kind of like them saying to Microsoft, hey, look what we've got, now we expect you to do one better. So this sort of competition for us, well, for these two, is actually really good for us as gamers, because the end product that we're going to end up with in our own homes is going to be very, very capable because of the competition between the two. Finally, I don't know an awful lot about the graphics that will be powering the PlayStation 4, but given that they're using a processor from AMD, which is sort of like a CPU stroke GPU combination, I would expect it to be based on Radeon technology. I'm not entirely sure of where it fits in the scheme of things. I've seen mention around the internet of the PlayStation 4 capability of being around the sort of Radeon 7800 series of cards. These cards are surprisingly capable for modern day PCs, so if these cards perform like that for the PlayStation 4, then graphically both console gamers who buy the PlayStation 4 as well as PC gamers who continue to PC game are really going to be in for a treat. Console ports from next generation consoles aren't going to be as sort of like bad as we've had to suffer from for the last few years. So overall, this news is really, really good for PC gamers as well as for the console gamers who are going to go out and buy these machines. There are also a couple of other things that Sony have mentioned, such as the ability to sort of play full-on PlayStation games, PlayStation 4 games with the PS Vita, which interests me as well. As a PS Vita owner, I don't think that the PS Vita has an awful lot of games or features right now. So I kind of feel a little cheated by the fact that there's not an awful lot coming out for the PS Vita. But this sort of feature that they're going to be adding to the PlayStation 4 sounds really neat, and I might end up picking up a PlayStation 4 myself for such games like Killzone and things like that, which I cannot get on PC. For all the arguments that we've heard over the last couple of years about console gaming holding back not just PC gaming but gaming in general, I expect those arguments to disappear with the next generation of consoles. Regardless of what the final specifications of the next Xbox are, I would imagine them to be really potent, and both consoles are going to be a huge leap forward in general gaming, as well as through console ports and through developers forced to multitask more on cores, the amount of cores due to the slow clock frequency of these AMD Bobcat based CPUs. It's going to be more parallel threaded, so those of us with multi-core PCs are also going to benefit from Sony's decision to implement an 8-core processor into the PlayStation 4. Hopefully we as PC gamers are going to see the advantages of that as well, by games which use all the cores available on our machine. So this is good news for us as PC gamers as well as console gamers. If you read all the sort of rumours going around the internet and things like that at the moment, it seems that Microsoft are also going to be opting in for the AMD Jaguar based processors in their next generation Xbox. So it really is going to be a very interesting time to see how Sony sort of release more details for us and how Microsoft respond to the very high specs of the PlayStation 4 console. At the moment, how it is looking at the specs directly, the PlayStation 4 looks like a good high-end PC, a great high-end PC even. One of the things worth mentioning is that consoles are a lot more streamlined than PCs. You don't have to worry about the operating system sort of hogging loads of memory and things like that. Consoles are custom designed and can therefore make better use of the hardware available to them. So even though you may think, oh, it's only equivalent to a Radeon HD 7800 series, what you got to remember here, guys, is that both the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 have GPUs which are equivalent now to almost 8 years old, and some of the graphics on the games still coming out today are pretty fantastic. Just looking at them, they're still really good looking, even if more could be done with more technological advances. So you think, oh wow, that'll be outdated within a year. No, it won't. The current generation of consoles have been going for 8 years and the games still look pretty good for what they are. So with that in mind, I think there's going to be a very long time before anyone can say that console gaming will be holding back gaming in general once the next generation consoles are released. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave it here. I do hope you've enjoyed my gameplay commentary, and do let me know what you think in the comments. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have got to say about this particular subject. Until next time guys, take care.